there's a joke I'm sure we're all very familiar with, the famous liberal arts major to unemployed pipeline, right? Obviously, this joke exists for a reason, right? The outcome of getting one of these degrees is very different than the outcome of getting a computer science degree, right? But this is about to change sharply. One, I should actually address it just up front here. This has never really been 100% true. Getting a degree in something you love, something you enjoy, especially depending on the debt, is a great idea, I think. I genuinely do think it. As somebody who, before they went to school, was like way too focused on like, oh my God, what are the earnings here? It actually influenced a lot of decisions I made in terms of like what I ended up doing and how I ended up doing it. I will say that coming out on the other side of that, if you can get a philosophy PhD in little to no debt, I think that's actually great. I'm not a life advisor, right? I just also will say that I think there's a whole lot of people who are pitching the other side of that, of like it's the most useless thing on earth. I think it's important to remember that this isn't that bad, right? Learning how to think critically, learning how to read subtext if you're an English major, learning how to direct if you're a film major. As much as, listen, will every film degree guy end up being the next Scorsese? No, not at all. Will every philosophy PhD end up being the next Immanuel Kant? No, not at all. Will every literary student end up being the next Stephen King? No, not at all, right? These things are very important to consider, right? And I think that's why it gets this rap, because it's very common to hear somebody being like, oh, you know, you got an English PhD and now you are a insurance person, right? That's kind of fine if we want to go that route, right? Because what's the other route there? You get a PhD in, or not PhD, you get a degree in business, you end up being an insurance exec too, right? Like, I think that there are multiple ways to get to every route, and no, will you end up living your dream? I don't think anybody could ever guarantee you will. However, learning an important skill, learning something you love, is very valuable, right? Learning how to critically think is extremely valuable. As somebody who's talked with a lot of people in business because of their job, knowing like a steady basing of philosophy, of how to order your thoughts, of how to think through a very complicated issue, is one of the most valued skills. The flip side of that is it's a very vapid, indiscernible skill, right? It's not like they, during the job interview, are like, okay, I want you to explain Plato's Cave to me and how this can apply to our internal systems issue, right? It's something that takes a while to get noticed. However, if you are in a company, in a corporate setting, and you can, you know, versus being a decent computer science major who can code fairly well versus being a fantastic critical thinker who is, you know, in just a random position, I will hedge my bet that the fantastic critical thinker will end up doing a lot better than most people would expect, right? These skills are valued, they're just more indiscernible, right? This has always been true. However, what I want to pitch here is not just that they've always been true, but that it's about to get so much more true because of AI, because of automation, right? What's coming in is a huge wave where the STEM fields are about to look like the arts, where only the top 1% are allowed to function. So many people have been like, I hate coding, but I'm gonna get my comp sci degree because I think it's valuable. The job prospects are not looking as good as they once did, right? Following your passion is the only surefire guaranteed outcome of happiness. And that's what I wanna say, right? I don't think that we should ignore the fact that the earning side of this is important. It's something you got to consider, right? This is definitely real. However, being happy at the end of the day is better than being extremely unstable but financially successful. And I don't mean this in the way of like, you'd rather cry under the bridge as a starving artist than be in an apartment doing comp sci. That's not what I mean at all, right? Because I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest. Not because I think that I think it's an admirable thing on the one hand. I also just think though that like, there's more ways than just those two things, right? What I'm saying more so here is that a whole lot of people compromise their visions, their dreams in life, and they're about to get screwed because of AI, because of all this automation that's about to come into the fold, right? They're about to get screwed and they hated what they were doing. you might as well get screwed while you love what you're doing, right? And hope that everything ends up being okay. And that's why I think that these skills that we're seen as stupid are about to become entirely valuable. The other thing is that AI is really good at doing task-oriented things, right? If I send AI a bunch of data, if I input a ton of things in ChatGPT and I say, get me an XSLX file with this all categorized in a table in alphabetical order, sure, cool, right? Double check it over, of course, but like, it's gonna do that pretty well every time. Same with something like code, right? A lot of companies are using AI to write like most of their code these days. These things are not sure-proof, but they're doing pretty well. What ChatGPT is going to take a long, long time for it to do is critically think. It's not going to be able to outthink humans for a long time in terms of, maybe it can in terms of math, maybe it can in terms of computation. It cannot outthink. Like, I think if Immanuel Kant was still alive, he could probably go toe-to-toe with ChatGPT and destroy it, right? Because it's not, philosophy is a uniquely human pursuit, right? It's one of the things that makes us so us. And I think that for that reason, it's going to be even more important. Another important, slightly dystopian part of this is that as these things get better and better, the more important part of it is going to be how to communicate with them in interesting and provocative ways, right? How can you actually get it to do what you want to do in a complex thought, right? That's, often referred to as the art of prompting, but what you're actually doing is just writing a treatise a lot of the time. If you want to get an AI to do something extremely complicated that takes a lot of steps, you need to be able to break down those steps and think through it, right? That's a skill that is hard to teach, and then there's, I'm sure one day they'll probably come out with a degree for this or something. But it's gonna be crazy. What are you even gonna learn, right? I guess you probably learn how the AI thinks or whatever, I don't know. But for the time being, this skill is so important, right? Like that is a skill that is uniquely held, that is very important. Being able to think your way through something, right? Proofreading is a huge skill that's going to be important as we have to check for errors in these things, right? There's of course something to address here. This is a extremely non-expansive conversation. It's probably pretty closed-minded in terms of what's going to happen next, right? In the immediate moment and probably immediate future, this is a trend I'm going to predict, right? These skills are going to get so much more valuable, and I think we're going to see a slight receding in STEM fields as they get more specified and more competitive, right? You kind of need like a master's degree these days, from what I've understood. I have a lot of friends in STEM, and what they're all saying now is you need to go to at least, a master's, if not PhD level, to actually do well in these fields now, is what they're telling me. I don't know. I can't code for my life, and I can barely do math. But what I do know is that in the immediate future, right, before this thing gets crazy and horrifying and the whole world has to adjust to it, there's going to be some opportunity for these things that were treated as useless. They're going to become very useful. They always have been very useful, I think, is the more important part of this. They've always been extremely useful to be a good critical thinker, to be able to think your way through issues. This has always been an important skill. But now it's going to become a skill that is unignorable, that's undeniable. Having a vision is going to be 10 times more important than having good execution, because these things can execute for you, right? And I think that's the most important part of this. That's what I think is so I guess I'm just searching for a silver lining in this absolutely terrifying dystopian hellscape that AI is about to create. But cool. I think that's cool that people who are able to think their way through things and think with a vision are going to get a moment, because that's what I predict is going to happen. I know very little about AI. I'm not a life advisor. I did not complete college, and yeah, so don't take too much stake in what I say. But this is the vibe I'm feeling right now. This is my vibe reading of the room that is AI right now. All of this is just me listening to people around me who are closer to these spaces and what they tell me. Anyways, this is the painting. Very close to finally getting this color palette right. There's 3 more coming with this. I mixed too much paint with these, but I'm kind of okay with that because I haven't gotten these to where I want them yet, and I think there's opportunity in this palette. I don't know, I think this is a cool one, guys. No, I'm liking this. I want to see where I can take it, because this is sort of like very like militaristic almost, a little bit like orderly. This is very almost serene, and this is almost like a violence to it. And I think there's something I can get in that with these colors. We're going somewhere with these. Check this out over on Instagram. What are your thoughts on this extremely uneducated discussion on AI and the humanities? I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 209. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.